Hello friends, and welcome back. Now, as we continue this almost like second study on the two divine chronologies, we're going to have a look at the Moray and the Chazown. For those of you who aren't familiar with these terms, it's basically, in our King James Version, it's translated as vision. But they're two different Hebrew words, Moray and Chazown. So we're going to have a look at that, and for those who aren't familiar, this will be just an introduction. We're going to keep it high level and simple. But for those who are a little bit familiar, it's going to make sense and become clear as it was for me. Now, as we continue studying about the mandolin, because it's all about him. Everything that we're going to look at and study points to Christ, the man in linen, and his high priest administration, why it's important for us to know today. So from the July 2018 thought paper, we had this chart, and the second page to that. But before we get into it, I just want to explain that this Moray and Chazown, it was difficult for me, and I've studied it for a little while, and at the beginning it was difficult, and we kind of had it flip-flopped in understanding. And so when we really sat down and studied it out and just, looked at the text from Daniel 8, 9, and 10, we saw that it's actually trying to tell us something. So I'll just read real briefly that the Chazown and the Moray pinpoint two ministrations. Namely, the ministration of the 1290, the daily with the Tamid, and the ministration of the Day of Atonement's cleansing, commencing at the completion of the Moray at the end of the 2300 years, and the Chazown, because the Chazown, we're going to see, actually goes to the same terminus point, because the Chazown concerns the daily. Admate, how long? Until when concerning the daily? Vision, the Chazown concerning the daily? Until 1844, okay? And this clearly shows the treading down of the one, the daily, by the little horn, until the commencement of the other, the yearly. And remember how we studied Leviticus 4 and 16? Leviticus 4 was the daily in type, and Leviticus 16 was the yearly, the Day of Atonement, in type. That type, daily, that type, yearly, has to have a type, an antitype, daily, and an antitype, yearly. And we understand that the antitypical yearly, the Day of Atonement, began in 1844. But what about the antitypical daily? The daily had to come before the yearly. So this is what we're going to have a look at. And that commencement of the other, the yearly, was unto 2,300 days. Then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. That's Day of Atonement language. Okay? So let's have a look at the chart. Two divine chronologies. So here this word Chazown is translated as vision, and the Moray is translated as vision of Daniel 8, 9, and 10. Now we summarized it real briefly at the beginning. Daniel 8:13, the Chazown concerns the daily. It's just that simple, because when you read it, it says in Daniel 8:13, then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain Palmoni, the wonderful number, saint which spake, until when, admate, shall be the Chazown, vision, concerning the daily. The Chazown concerns the daily. So, when we need to think of the Chazown, it's referring to, it's talking about, and directing your attention to, the daily. The second, the Mare, in Daniel 8:14, the Mare concerns the 2300 evening morning. Okay? So what we did, and we stated this, the Chazown concerns the daily, the Mare concerns the 2300, and this is why. When you take Daniel 8, 9, and 10 and line them up beside each other with all the texts where Chazown, Mare is found in those 3 chapters, this is what we find. A Chazown appeared unto me. I saw in a Chazown. I saw in a Chazown. How long shall be the Chazown concerning the daily, the Tami? Unto 2,300 days. That's the Hebrew Erev Boker, evening, morning. That's the Mare. I, Daniel, had seen the Chazown and sought for the meaning. And then he saw the Mare, not the Mare of a man. So it uses that Mare for vision in this verse as well. The man in linen instructs Gabriel, make this man, Daniel, to understand the Mare. So he sees a Chazown. The question is, until when shall be the Chazown? The man in linen answers concerning the Mare, not the Chazown, the Mare. Okay? And he saw the Chazown, he sought for the meaning. Okay? But Gabriel is instructed by the man in linen to understand the Mare, not the Chazown, the Mare. Concerning the Mare that Gabriel was told by the man in linen to make Daniel understand, Gabriel said, so concerning this Mare, understand, O Son of Man, and then explained concerning the Chazown, for at the time of the end shall be the Chazown. The vision, and in the margin, the vision come to pass. At the time of the end, the vision shall come to pass. And the Mare of the evening and the morning. See, the Mare of the evening and the morning, it concerns the 2300 evening, morning. 2 parts make up 1 full day, 2300 days, with the day in year principle, 2300 days, prophetically 2300 years. Okay? The Mare of the evening and the morning, which was told, is true. Wherefore, shut thou up the Chazown, not the Mare, the Chazown, for it shall be for many days. And we're going to see why. The Mare begins in 457 BC. Here. The 2300, like we showed on our previous chart in here, the Mare, the 2300, begins in 457 BC. And it goes until 1844 AD. So the Mare begins in 457 BC. The Chazown begins post 31 AD. I know that may be a little difficult, but let me try and explain. Speaking from the time of approximately 553 to 552 BC, the Chazown is for many days. Speaking from that time, 553 to 552. The Chazown, for it shall be for many days, post 31 AD. So from the time of 553 to 552 BC, 31 AD, it shall be for many days. Post 31 AD. After the beginning of the Mare. The Mare begins first in 457 BC. And then I was astonished at the Mare, but none understood it. And so what we need to realize here is between chapter 8 and 9, there's a dozen or so more years. So you can understand why Daniel was sick and fainted, and he wanted to understand. A dozen or so more years later. So he was given the end point for the 2300 years. Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Over here, in 1844. 2300, he was giving the end point, but he wasn't given the beginning point. Okay? So when we come to chapter 9, Gabriel, Daniel writes, whom I had seen in the Chazown at the beginning, over here, a Chazown appeared unto me. I am come to show thee, therefore understand the matter and consider the mare. The mare. He's trying to get Daniel to understand the mare, the Chazown for many days. Okay? Therefore understand the matter and consider the mare. And in 924, 70 weeks, which we know is from 457 BC, plus 490 years, takes you to 34 AD. 70 weeks are determined. And that word determined means to divide, determine, cut off, decide, earmarked, decided upon, allocated. These 70 weeks, or 490 years, were cut off and allocated from off the rest of the whole 2,300 years. So 70 weeks are, there's this period of time, it's earmarked, it's allocated, decided upon, here, within the 2,300 year chronology, okay, are determined. 70 weeks are determined to seal up. Now I had to look at that word, to seal up. It means to seal, affix one's seal in attestation, seal up. So it may not necessarily be like, you know, lock it up, close it up, shut it down. Maybe like 70 weeks are determined, and then the vision, the Chazown concerning the daily, it's going to be attested to. It's going to be brought in, magnified. Okay? To seal up the Chazown, post 31 AD, and I know I'm inserting that, but we'll see here why it has to be post 31 AD. And prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Now, in the chart, which will be in the thought paper link below this video, you can have more of a look at this, and if we have time we'll go through it. But when you come to Daniel chapter 10, verse 1, a thing was revealed unto me, unto Daniel, and the thing was true. Let's see. There we go. And the thing was true, but the time appointed was long. Look, 457 BC to 1844. Long. And he understood the thing and had understanding of the matter. So he saw a Chazown, the moray was explained, and I'm come, that's chapter 8, chapter 9, I'm come to show thee, consider the moray, and then he had understanding of the moray. So in Daniel, in chapter 8 of Daniel, Daniel was told by Palmoni, the man in linen, the moray. Then Gabriel was told by the man in linen to make Daniel understand the moray. But he didn't understand. He was faint, sick, and astonished. None understood it. In chapter 9, Gabriel was sent by commandment, saying, understand the matter and consider the moray. The moray was explained. That's chapter 9. In chapter 10, Daniel understood the thing and had understanding of the moray, still being told the Chazown is for many days. The moray was explained, but concerning the Chazown, concerning the daily, it wasn't explained. It will be for many days. And in 10:14, now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days, for yet the Chazown is for many days. Then there came again and touched me one like the moray of a man and strengthened me. That word again, but it's not concerning the 2300. It was the The same word translated as the vision, moreh, of a man, and he strengthened me. So, the Chazown concerns the daily. The moreh concerns the 2300. These two words, moreh and Chazown, translate as vision. So we've had a comparison of these three chapters and all the instances where these words are used. And this is by no means an exhaustive study. So when we come here, what we tried to do was just present a high-level timeline for the Chazown and the moreh. 457 BC, okay? We now know that the moreh concerns the 2300 years. From Daniel 8:14, 2300 evening, morning. Days, prophetic, 2300 years. And that goes from 457 BC to 1844. But that's the moreh, okay? Because remember, the question asked by the another saint to Palmoni, the wonderful numberer, was admite. Until when concerning this? The Chazown concerning the daily. So these two boxes are for the Chazown. This is for the moreh. We know it runs from 457 BC to 1844 AD. But the question admite concerned the Chazown, the vision concerning the daily. But next, see, and Palmoni's answer unto 2,300 days has to all terminate in 1844. Unto 2,300 days or years, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Christ's high priestly administration, the antitypical Day of Atonements began. And this is why the 2300, the moreh, and the 1290 Chazown, because here's 1290, terminate together with Daniel 8:14's fulfillment. This, because it concerned this, and he said unto here, this is the link between the two visions. This is the link between the two divine chronologies that prove Daniel 8:14, 1844. So what we have here is, we have the beginning of the 2300, but we have the end, because we know the Chazown, because the question again, unto when concerning this, and he said unto here, we know that the Chazown ends here, but if it ends, it's got to have a beginning, right? It makes sense. Okay. So where do we begin the Chazown? Well, the Chazown concerns the daily. In type, there was the daily ministration each day during the year. That was a type. And then there was the type yearly. Here's the antitype daily. And here is when the antitypical yearly begins. So the antitypical daily goes to here, and then the antitypical yearly begins and goes on from that point on. Because it has to be from post 31 AD. And I'll read a little bit and explain why. So if you can catch the main concept that the moreh concerns the 2300 and it ran from here to here, and the Chazown concerns the daily and it ran from post 31 AD unto admite until when concerning the daily unto 1844. It has to terminate here, but it has to begin somewhere. 31 AD is the only possible answer. Okay? But what and we're going to have a look at these verses real quickly, Hebrews 2:17 and 17:25, and that's that antitypical daily ministration of Leviticus 4 by Christ in the heavenly sanctuary, and it ran from post 31 AD to 1844. That antitypical daily ministration by Christ in the heavenly sanctuary, where he was fulfilling antitypically that type pictured in Leviticus 4. Remember, for the 4 categories of sinners: the high priest, the whole congregation, the ruler, and the common person. And that type in Leviticus 4 was about an atonement that resulted in forgiveness. here's the ministration of forgiveness, and then the ministration of cleansing. The antitypical high priestly Day of Atonement's ministration from 1844 onward. And we're in it right now. But if the daily began post 31 AD and went to 1844, the Chazown also concerned the daily here, 31 AD to 1844, but it also concerned the transgression of desolation, because admite, until when, concerning the vision concerning the daily, and the transgression of desolation by the little horn. So here we have, because we know it terminates here in 1844, and we have the correct starting date of 554, this is your 1290, your two chronologies, 1290 and the 2300, but there had to be a point, and that's that from the time that the daily shall be taken away by the little horn, by reason of transgression. The transgression of desolation, the abomination of desolation in Daniel 8:13 and 12:11. For 1290 years until Daniel 8:14 in 1844. Okay? So with this brief summary, we've put the summary here in this box for the Moray from 457 BC to 1844 for Daniel 8, 9, and 10. And over here we have the Chazown post 31 AD to 1844 in Daniel 8, 9, and 10. And as we look at them, let's notice that concerning the Moray concerns the 2300 evening and morning, full days, namely prophetic years. It concerns that. Gabriel was instructed by the man in linen to make Daniel understand the Moray. Okay? Understand, O Son of Man, but concerning the Chazown, at the time of the end shall be the Chazown. The Moray, Gabriel said, the 2300 evening and morning, terminating in 1844, which was told is true. Gabriel said it. This is true. Gabriel said, which was told is true. And Daniel was astonished at the Moray, but none understood it. And that's from Daniel 8. But Daniel 9, which was 12 plus years later, Gabriel said to Daniel, understand the matter and consider the Moray. The Moray was explained in Daniel 9, because he was given the starting point. In Daniel 8, he was given the ending point, unto. But he didn't know where to begin. And this is why in the, it was the last thought paper, which was the very last video we did, titled Gold Rush, we explained how there was that copper scroll. And it told you, which was found in Qumran, it's called the Copper Scroll. And it told you how to go so many steps and go here and turn here to get to a treasure. But the only problem was it didn't tell you where to begin. The comparison was for Daniel, he was told the ending, but he didn't understand, he wasn't told where to begin it. And this is where Daniel 9, Gabriel explained the commencement point for that 2300 years was the beginning point of 457. From the going forth of the commandment, which happened in 457 BC, there was going to be 70 weeks, like it is here. From the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem and to the Messiah, the Prince, 70 weeks are determined, okay? So, in Daniel 10, the Moray was revealed into Daniel. Was true, but the time appointed was long. And he understood the thing and had understanding of the Moray. He understood this part, okay? Starting here, 2300 years, going on to 2,300 days. Okay? But when we come to the Chazown, post 31 AD to 1844, in Daniel 8, let's notice the Chazown concerns the daily. Daniel saw the Chazown and sought for the meaning. Gabriel said, for at the time of the end shall be the Chazown. the vision concerning the daily. Gabriel said, "Shut thou up the Chazown, for it shall be for many days." That's in Daniel 8. But in Daniel 9, Gabriel said that 70 weeks are determined to seal up the Chazown. 70 weeks, 490 years are determined to seal up, to attest to. And right in the midst, this is the 70 weeks, and remember, in the midst of that 70th week, in 31 AD, Christ caused the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. So from 31 AD, remember, he went back to heaven, and it wasn't until he entered into Tahagya, the holy place, that he became our great high priest and secured for us an eternal redemption. So when he did that, the antitypical, daily high priestly administration began, making reconciliation for the sins of the people. Okay? From here, being ministered unto here. But there was this time from here that it was taken away by reason of the transgression of desolation and abomination for 1290 years. And for that period of time, people didn't understand it. Okay? Just like we explained in this prior chart, the taken away implies the daily was obscured in the minds of men. Okay? During this 1290 years. And in 1844 it was restored as the perfect sacrifice for the continuation of the everlasting gospel. So the daily went from post 31 AD to 1844, but for this period of time it was taken away. But then it was restored when the yearly, then shall the heavenly sanctuary be cleansed. And now we can understand these things, okay? So just going back, Gabriel said that 70 weeks are determined to seal up the Chazown. And in Daniel 10, Gabriel said, "For yet the Chazown is for many days." Now, here's a brief conclusion. Here's a thought, and I'll just read here from the thought paper. Was it the man in linen's will for Daniel to fully understand the Chazown during his lifetime? The man in linen did will that Daniel understand the Moreh, John 4:22. This key text, Jesus said, salvation is of the Jews. They were given, in type, the example and shadow of all these heavenly things. The type daily, the type yearly. Here's Christ's antitypical daily, and from here is antitypical yearly. John 4:22 makes this a salient observation. John 4:22 is for us who are at the end of the end, at the time of the end, to understand the Chazown, which concerned the daily. High priestly administration. Remember, that daily is high priestly administration. It's not paganism. And the little horn's transgression and abomination against it for 1290 years. The Chazown concerns Christ's high priestly administration in the heavenly sanctuary, post 31 AD to 1844, and Daniel 8:14, and the little horns casting the truth of Christ's high priestly administration to the ground for 1290 years. So the Chazown began post 31 AD. How can we say the Chazown began post 31 AD? Just let's explain it. Have a look. The Moreh began in 457 BC. Okay? That's from Daniel 9:25 and lasted unto 2300 years in Daniel 8:14. Here. And 12:11. In Daniel 8:14. The Chazown reaches unto the same time per Daniel 8:13 and 12:11. And so the Chazown had to start somewhere, right? Are there any clues? Daniel 9:24, which reads, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the Chazown and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Daniel 9:24 provides the only one I've found so far, and it is a weighty one to be sure, along with the whole book of Hebrews. Okay, so the book of Hebrews proves that there had to be this daily ministration from here to here. Okay? So, and that's from Hebrews 2:17 and 9:25, which we'll just read real quickly, which says, Hebrews 2:17, if you want to just turn to that in your Bible with me, it says, wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. Leviticus 4 was an atonement resulting in forgiveness. That was the type. Here's your antitype. And in 7:25, which says, wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto God by him, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them. He was making intercession when he went back to heaven, became our great high priest. When he entered in, he became our great high priest and secured for us an eternal redemption, making intercession for the sins of the people. Okay? Now, we're kind of running out of time, but what I did explain in the thought paper that you can go into in more detail and in depth is, while the Chazown concerning the vision terminates here, because of 1 John 1:9, he is able to forgive us of our sins. That's a daily. That's the antitypical for the type, daily ministration. He's able to forgive, an atonement resulting in forgiveness in the type. Here's your antitype. He's able to forgive us of our sins. And while the Chazown goes to here, concerning the daily, the ministration of a daily atonement of forgiveness continues right along with his high priestly administration of a yearly, antitypical yearly final atonement ministration of cleansing. So he's able to forgive us of all our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And this just summarizes it, it brings it together so we can see it and understand for, for this time at the end, for once and for all, we can understand the moray, we can understand the Chazown, and that the Chazown, concerning that daily, was taken away by the little horn from 554 AD to 1844. So now we know what the moray is, and what the Chazown is, and where they begin and end, in just a high-level, simple format. And we'll be studying this as we continue to go forward, because we'll be studying we'll get back into the parabolic time clock and Christ's high priestly administration. So with that, we'll end. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video, and pray about these things. And I hope this helps. God bless and keep you. Till next time. Goodbye.